Unfortunately, we got a couple minutes late here, but we are ready to go. So I will call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan River, Manitoba, this 27th day of April 2021 at 7:03 p.m. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, some members are attending by phone and Zoom due to the numbers allowed. Present in chambers, myself, Deputy Reeve Blosha, Councillors Foster, Gade, and Wills. Via telephone, Councillor Kushniryk, and we are still waiting for Councillor Pierrepont to call in. James Webb is also on the phone. With us tonight from administration is contract consultant Ken Jenkins. Now absence from the meeting with we only have one, and that is Councillor Pierrepont, so that will explain why he is not on the phone. He submitted this to council. I, Darryl Pierrepont, do hereby give notice that I am unable to attend the regular meeting of council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West to be held on April 27th, 2021. Okay, first resolution, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held this 27th day of April 2021 shall be adopted as circulated. Do we have a mover for that resolution?
I'll move.
Kushniryk.
Moved by Councillor Kushniryk,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councillor Foster. Anyone like any changes to the agenda?
Would it be possible to add a 9.3 discussion for code of conduct?
9.3 Code of Conduct.
And then a question about 10.1, that email concern. Are we intending to discuss that there, or should we add it to the discussion session as well?
Okay, 10 point.
10.1 is the recycling email. I'd like to have some discussion about it, so if we're good with discussing it there, that's great, but otherwise if we want to put it someplace to...
If we discuss it, it'll only be in general terms. I can read the letter, but I will not read the author of the letter.
Not sure I understand why, but...
Because of privacy.
There's a letter.
That's more for general correspondence to receive once a month for recycling.
Come again, James, our speaker phone was down.
Okay, that correspondence is general correspondence for recycling, just not the one email. It was just recorded wrong there.
In any case, I still want to discuss recycling, so should we put it under discussion, or should we do it in 10.1? Whatever the will of the
It
chair
really
is.
doesn't matter,
Okay, as long as we discuss
as long as we discuss it. Okay,
I'd also like to add discussion regarding capital projects for 2021. That could be in camera or under 9, whatever your preference is.
which item are you referring to, James?
Capital purchases for 2021.
Capital purchases or projects?
Purchases.
Okay.
Purchases. Budgets.
So you would like to add that 13.6 in?
Sure. And 13.7 would be council communication.
Okay, any other additions? Not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution, resolved that the minutes for the regular meeting and public hearing of council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West held on April 13th, 2021 shall be adopted as circulated. We have a mover for that resolution. Moved by Councillor Blosha. Seconded by Councillor Wills. Any discussion, errors, or omissions?
I noticed we list a podcast on there, Mr. Bergen. But my understanding is we maybe don't have a podcast for that meeting.
Apparently not.
What happened?
I have no idea. I don't control the...
You don't ask James.
Yeah, I'm just curious what happened. Mr. Webb, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I'm just curious what happened to the podcast to the last meeting.
Can we get this microphone working here? That's what
Yeah,
we
it should
do
be.
there. Is it on?
Your mic won't work, it's just the phone there.
Just through the phone.
I can't elaborate. I don't have any information on why that podcast didn't come across.
Do we have any assurance that tonight's will be working?
Says record right now.
Regular.
Any further questions, comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. I'm just going to do this resolution next. Resolved that the notice of absence submitted by member of council Darryl Pierrepont regarding the regular meeting of council held this 27th day of April 2021 shall be accepted as received. All in favor?
Yes.
That is carried.
Did we have a move in a second for that?
Oh, I erred. We did not. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Councillor Wills.
Kushniryk will move.
Kushniryk will second it.
That's okay?
Move.
Is that okay, Councillor Kushniryk to second it?
Yep, you betcha.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll call the question again. All in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. Thank you, and again, my apologies. Okay, it is 7:11. Meredith and Don, are you both still on the line?
I am.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, we will hand the floor over to you for your presentation.
Good evening, Reeve, Galloway, and councillors, and James Webb of the Swan Valley West. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you this evening. I have been asked to be spokesperson for the 14 families that are affected by the heavy traffic that comes from the Saskatchewan border along River Road, aka 212. This is not a last-minute request. It started last year, mid-August, when the dust from summer bee trains necessitated that I wear a mask in my front yard while shearing, despite the many years of my paying for a single pass along this road. It is not enough to handle the damage done by excessive speed and volume of traffic. See the difference? Look at that section of Road 165 that borders my property on the west. We respectfully request that the RM go back to paying its 1/2 share as it did many years ago. Each year, homeowners have been paying extra money for dust control. Each year, 212 has been seen increased truck traffic. We have super bees of grain, logs, and gravel, as well as equipment haulers from out of province. A lot of these trucks have 30 tires going 90 kilometers an hour. We get dust control from late May to September. Then when the grader repairs the holes, if a water truck was run through after, it would rejuvenate the calcium instead of it blowing away. We understand trucks have to be able to get product to market, but respect is due to the homeowners as well. Most of us have heard of someone who gets an envelope in the mail. Does a nickel make a difference? 5 minutes. This is the difference along the road in question. At 70 kilometers an hour, it takes 17 minutes. At 90 kilometers an hour, 14 minutes. That 5 minutes means less flying stones, less windshield repairs, both to private vehicles and taxpayers owned, e.g. school buses and municipal ones. Solutions. Reduce truck speeds to 70 kilometers per hour. This is quite normal in other areas. Keep the dust control working as long as possible. Rejuvenate. Return 212 to its category of a haul road pre-Hinkleman era. Do a road tally on similar routes. Educate the truckers. Put up signs. A 1/8 mill rate increase on everyone's taxes would mean everyone could benefit. Not fair, you say? Yes, it is. I already have a special Burnside Bridge levy on a landlocked piece of hayland, no less. Road restrictions went up on 275 this year, March the 8th. Last year, April the 1st. Just have to flip a page. This afternoon, I put up the markers as I was requested to do for dust control. Now I know what the rest of the ratepayer has been complaining about. In a 200-foot stretch, I picked up 5 boulders, approximately the size of a grapefruit. And the gravel down the sides of the ditch, I'm glad it's not my lawnmower. One of the solutions perhaps for this to look into would be the town has a brush machine that they go along, they do the roads and they do the boulevards and reclaim the gravel. It might have to be a special machine because of the slopes. In closing, my portion of this delegation, I would like to remind you, 275 hardtop gets trucks and restrictions. They move on to 212 and 216 to get their product to market. 216 dust control relief to those homeowners. We do not get it. And thank you very much on that.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. You had mentioned, I'm going to ask a question of you if you don't mind. You'd mentioned the possible 70 kilometer an hour speed limit. Where are you suggesting that start and terminate?
I think that would be what's called the Shilkey Corner, 162, and go to the Saskatchewan border.
So you're talking the whole stretch?
The whole stretch, it's a wide open stretch. They just go by there at an unholy speed.
Yeah, if it were perhaps a shorter stretch, you might get a bit more compliance. But if it's for the full, what would that be, 10 miles or so? I think that you would probably have less compliance if it were for the whole stretch. We can put up signs, that's not the issue. The issue obviously is having...
Going through that area where the concentration of properties are, I don't travel 212 myself because I don't want my car wrecked. But when I was putting it down 200 feet today, I could see what other people are talking about.
Yes, excuse me. The whole road is basically in very bad shape. Really?
Go ahead. Somebody's just trying to call in the office here. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Oh yes, we can hear you.
All right. We have an issue. I'm trying to wait. I can't tell if you can hear me or what.
No, we can hear every word you're saying. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to put the point across with these large trucks. I have noticed that several of them do stay down to about 70 kilometers, and it makes a world of difference in the amount of airborne stuff around them, and it does make it 3 times safer for anybody passing as far as rocks flying or even just, the amount of road left to use. But generally speaking, I would say half of them are flying, and it doesn't matter whether they're loaded or they're empty. And you can see the rocks flying well out into the field, not just into the ditch. Last summer, I got hit 3 times with stones from large trucks on the windshield of my half-ton. And I think that's a little exceptional, and that's mostly because the road is not maintained properly, and it causes them to really dog track when they have to take their own side of the road. And also, without it being maintained properly for a speed control, it allows a lot more stones to be airborne, whether they're passing somebody or just wasting the crush that's on top. I do believe the speed would make quite a difference. And since, like I say, there's several trucks that are already keeping themselves down to that speed, I assume it's more localized people that are using the road, just trying to be a better neighbor. But I can't swear to that because I don't recognize all the trucks. If I'm out in the yard for a day, it's nothing to have 30 B trains going one direction or another past my property. And that is quite excessive, but they have no choice. They can't use 275, and they have no way to cross the river until they get to the golf course crossing or go up to the Cotton Bridge. So I'm not sure what the truckers would have, what kind of solution they would have alternatively to do. They have to move something somewhere, but I do believe that if they were slowed up, it would make quite a difference to maintaining the road. And also, the road has to be maintained better. The road is very poorly maintained. So, perhaps you have to do something at that end of it, or re-educate perhaps your operators. I believe you had a new operator this winter, and he had a terrible time learning what he was supposed to do by the looks of some of the things he did. So maybe he needs some supervision or better instruction, or maybe he's already gone. I have no idea who you hire or fire these days. But that's the information I have, and that is factual. I drive the roads times a week. So, if you have any questions in that line, I would be happy to answer them if possible.
Okay, who just joined us?
Lloyd Bertram.
Hi, Lloyd. We're just in the middle of a first delegation here. Any councillors have a question of either Mr. Potten or Ms. Salama? Go ahead.
Come over here, I hope they can hear me.
We should be able to get that microphone.
I'm curious, either one of you might know the answer to this. If we were to go to 70 kilometers an hour, would you see it for all traffic, or would you just want it limited for trucks?
In my opinion, just the large trucks. Most of the traffic that's on here, you're either not going to slow up or they've already done it on their own.
And in the areas that I was referring to, that was the difference. Regular traffic moved at 90 kilometers trucks had to drop 20 kilometers. By the way, I can also turn in a typed copy of my delegation to the RM office tomorrow if you figure your machine might not be working.
That would be excellent if you could do that, Meredith. Okay, we have the second delegation ready to come on, but I'm just going to give you this tidbit prior to closing the first delegation. We, as you know, are advocating for reconstruction on 275, and they have told us that the subsurface and surface that they put on will not be required to have restrictions put on it any time throughout the year. Now, that won't happen, obviously, for a couple of years, but it is something that we can all genuinely look forward to and hope for.
Thank you. I would like to add that I don't believe you'd have to have expensive signage on the entire road. There's probably only 2 or 3 corners that are very popular with the large trucks, and I believe if you had a cheap signage up there, most of those trucks would likely comply to it.
Okay. We will take that under advisement, and thank you both for your time and your input.
By the way, that amount of gravel in the ditch that I noticed tonight, I've never seen that much in previous years, so perhaps Mr. Potten's comment that it could have been a new grader that needs some education, but like I said, glad it's not my lawnmower.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Bertram, the floor is yours.
Okay. All I'm after is every year it's the same situation. As soon as the highways put the restrictions on Road 486 or Pretty Valley Road, I get all the traffic from everywhere going east. And whether it's fuel trucks, gravel trucks, grain trucks, fertilizer trucks, it's all going past my place. And today was wicked with the cloud of dust filling my yard. So I'd like to have it as an all road and calciumed.
Okay, do you currently put calcium on?
I have. Over the years, last year, well, every now and again I pay. But, besides.
Okay. And it would just be your residence that's getting the dust there?
Well, it's right from the corner, which includes Colin Eisner and my 2 houses.
Okay, so two yard sites.
About 1,500 feet.
Okay, any member of council have a question for Mr. Bertram? If not, thank you, Lloyd, for your presentation, and council will take it under advisement and discuss both of these issues.
Okay, it's all I can do is wait for confirmation.
Okay.
Wait for the truck to calcium it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, obviously, but you farmed for many, many years, so you know that when the time comes, farmers must somehow find a route to get inputs to their farm and produce from the farm to market, so.
I know that, and I've got guys from the FA that want seed grain and they can't get it unless they come past my place.
Yeah, no, we understand.
Every direction.
Okay, thank you again.
Okay, we'll talk to you again.
You bet.
Okay.
Have a good evening. Okay, we will move on to general business 7.1, a minor subdivision application on Northwest 233727.
Bear with me for
Yep.
a little more.
Next resolution, whereas the owners of part of Northwest 1/4 Section 233727 WPM have made an application to subdivide their property, and whereas the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has reviewed said application, along with the conditional approval letter received from Community and Regional Planning dated April 7th, 2021, and have no objections to the aforementioned subdivision. Therefore be it resolved that we do hereby approve the minor subdivision of the aforementioned property, provided all conditions and requirements set out in said letter from the Province of Manitoba Community and Regional Planning Branch are met. Do we have a mover for the resolution?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Blosha. A seconder? Councillor Wills. Any discussion? Questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. Next resolution, whereas the owners of part of the northeast 1/4 of section 193627 have made an application to rezone CT 2420184 R13600 from AG agricultural zone to CH commercial highway zone, and as part of a subdivision condition, and whereas the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West has reviewed said application along with the letter received from Community and Regional Planning dated April 6, 2021, and have no objections to the aforementioned rezoning. Therefore be it resolved that we do hereby approve the rezoning application of the aforementioned property, provided all conditions and requirements set out in said letter from the Province of Manitoba Community and Regional Planning Branch are met. A mover for that resolution.
Kushniryk.
Moved by Councillor Kushniryk,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councillor Blosha. Questions, comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
That is carried. Okay, this next one has to do with the road gravel map. Have all members of council viewed the map and made any additions or deletions or whatever?
I should probably have a real quick look.
Yeah, some there that I think there's maybe too much going on, some of the roads there instead of 150 seems.
When is the gravel actually happening?
I think they plan in May to start, as I recall.
Usually starts in the middle, if it's the same people.
When's our next transportation meeting?
I would like to make one little addition, but it's in Ward
6.
6. Not even my ward.
No, six. Okay, what we can do, what I would suggest we do is have a note of paper and just have some instruction to our lead hand that we would like to see the following changes.
She hasn't had gravel for like 18 years. It's time.
So I'm going to alter this resolution a bit, rather than as presented as, what word can we use here?
Whether,
And which one's that? I just need to know.
Oh, where the roofing begins. Is it over there?
But you're not wanting to gravel the whole stretch, really?
Yeah, it's showing the gravel road, but there's no gravel on it.
Well, they got, I see there was some gravel on it today.
Who's put the pins?
cartels.
See this road? See this road here?
But it does look nice how they
Here.
fixed it.
Councillor Kushniryk, did you have a chance to look at that gravel map?
Can't honestly say that I did, but I don't have any major concerns. I'm sure a slight alteration wouldn't hurt here or there, but
Okay, well, we're going to have it open to that. We're going to be taking notes from any councillors that wish some changes to the map. So that'll be worded that way in the resolution. So ensure that you come in at your earliest convenience and review your ward and make any suggested changes that you think would be appropriate. And if I could...
okay, yep.
If I could ask administration to contact Councillor Pierrepont and advise him the same,
Yes.
so that
I'll tell Darryl what I did at 2 at Fort 6. One road that he's gravel first.
So that's Fort 6?
Yeah. And I'll mention to him where that is.
he can still look at it though and do
Oh, yeah.
It'll
any
just need
additional
changing.
changes.
I'll just let him know that I put that on there.
Because they fixed it up at the start. Well, our grader fixed it up at the start, so it might as well, it'd be a mud hole.
Okay, we will do the next resolution. Be it resolved that council accept the 2021 road gravel map as amended. A mover for that resolution.
I'll move that one.
Councillor Wills, second by Councillor Foster. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Councillor Kushniryk, are you in favor?
Yes.
Thank you, that is carried.
Have the changes been marked on the map? That you fellas want?
I think that should probably have it on a piece of paper too, so that Dawn's alerted to the area that,
There's a few places here I'd like to.
okay,
Yeah.
well, why not just get a fresh piece of paper and each councillor can do the changes that they feel are appropriate. And it doesn't have to be done right now, so long as we get it done in the next few days so that
Sure.
Dawn is able to view it and maybe there's a good argument for what he is suggesting. Okay, we'll move on to financial items. Resolution resolved that Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the following payments. General checks number 16870 to 16896 in the amount of $40,205.14 for a grand total of $40,205.14. Do we have a mover for that resolution?
Kushniryk.
Moved by Councillor Kushniryk,
I'll second it.
seconded by Councillor Foster. Any discussion, questions, comments?
Check number 16896 is the last one on the list. Robin Weed, $702 for April accounting. I presume that's a contract payment for that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do we have any approval from council to hire that person as a contractor?
I believe that's when there is help required in the office, that's up to the CAO or assistant CAO. I may have misspoke when I answered contractor. James, are you still online?
Sorry, yeah.
Councillor Gade had a question with regard to Ms. Weed. Is she contract or hourly, or what's her status of employment?
She's hired contract currently.
On contract?
Yep.
He was asking under whose authority? I suggested
That'll
that
be my authority, yeah.
that's what I suggested.
So I guess a couple follow-ups then. The accounting positions.
Can you, James, how do we get this microphone working here?
We don't, that's for Zoom.
Microphone
That's
doesn't
only
work
for the computer.
because we're
Oh.
just on the phone.
Oh, it's only on the computer? Okay, Councillor Gade has a further question.
So I'm curious, the accounting position, like finance, with the exception of the one designated officer, would it not need to be a union position?
Not at this time, no, because it's a contract for a term position.
Okay. And the second question I guess I have with it being a contract, I checked late this afternoon and I find that the Workers' Compensation Board of Manitoba does not provide clearance for Robin Weeb as a contractor. Are you aware of there being clearance for that person?
I'm hired here as a contract for the office.
Right, so I'm going to ask that we strike that check from the list because we're not legally allowed to pay a contractor unless they're able to furnish a clearance from the Workers' Compensation Board. So we'll have to see a clearance before we can process payment.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I know, but you would be wrong, so we're gonna follow the rules, please. Let's strike the check.
She's covered under our insurance and under our workers' compensation.
Not unless there's a written agreement. I haven't seen a written agreement for this council to approve. So if she's a
Yeah, well, the council
contractor,
doesn't approve it, I approve it.
right, so unless she has a written agreement approved, which she doesn't, she's a contractor, she needs to have a workers' compensation clearance, the same as Mr. Webb must provide a workers' compensation clearance before we can pay him. If we legally pay this, we will be in trouble with the Workers' Compensation Board. We need a clearance from a contractor. That's a requirement for contract labor in Manitoba. I'm sure Mr. Webb is well aware of the rules.
No further comments from the meeting. No further comments.
Thank you. So I'd like to amend it to remove that check until we receive the clearance so we can legally pay it. Not
I
suggesting-
believe that check should stand.
I thought there was no further comment, Mr. Webb.
Contract, brought in working under our insurance and under our workman's compensation.
I suppose if Mr. Webb is willing to personally reimburse the municipality for any fines or fees, I'd be fine with it, is he? Hearing nothing, I'd like to strike the check until we receive clearance from workers' compensation as required.
Okay, it's an amendment. Do we have a mover? You're moving it
No,
obviously?
yeah, exactly. We need to, exactly.
Is it
we
an
need
order?
mover and seconder.
I think that, if I could interject for a moment,
Yeah.
what we have here is a situation where we have a councillor stating a fact. The acting CAO has stated a fact. What the fact that does remain is that the lady has done the work. Until we can get written clarification presented to council, the lady still deserves to be paid. And then follow up on this and find out what indeed is proper.
So one clarification.
Pardon me?
We don't have an acting CAO making this suggestion because we don't have an acting CAO right now.
Well, we have acting assistant CAO, and in the absence of a CAO, the assistant CAO fills that role.
Once
Right.
we appoint them.
Pardon?
Once we appoint them, we have not done that. We're in contravention of the municipality, not appointing them.
I'm not going to get into back and forth over things that cannot be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. We have a mover on an amendment to the checklist. Do we have a seconder for that amendment? Do we have a seconder for the amendment that was put forward by Councillor Gade? The third and final time, do we have a seconder for the amendment as presented? I declare the amendment fails. Any further questions or comments?
Call for a recorded vote.
Okay, we'll call the question. Councillor Gade.
No.
Councillor Foster?
Yes.
Pardon me, Glenn?
Yes, he said. Councillor Wills?
Yes.
Councillor Blosha?
Yes.
Councillor Kushniryk?
Yes.
And myself. Yes. Declare the resolution carried, 5-1. Next resolution, resolved that Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the following payments. Payroll payments, 3586 to 3598 in the amount of $14,510.72 for a grand total of $14,510.72. A mover for that resolution, please. Moved by Councillor Wills.
I'll second
Seconded by Councillor Blosha. Questions on that?
I'm curious if any of these paychecks are for Mr. Lyons.
If any of the paychecks,
Are for Mr. Lyons. If he's being paid this period or not.
I don't think that's a proper question for open forum.
Not asking anything else, just asking if one of these paychecks is for Mr. Lyons.
But you're using a name.
Which is fine. The paychecks we write for employees are subject to the Freedom of Information Act. Anyone can access their paychecks with the name attached. So asking the question with the name, I'm not suggesting whether you should have a job, should not have a job, anything like that. I'm simply asking if Mr. Lyons is being paid in these checks or not.
That I cannot tell you. James, do you have good recall whether there's a check for all employees of the LUD?
I am declining that on the basis of privacy. Period.
I wondered, Mr. Webb, could you quote the section of the act that you're
And even
referring
fill
to?
a form out to get his indemnities paid for the last 2 months.
Sorry, what? I didn't hear that. What?
Could you repeat that, James, please?
I says the man that's causing so much trouble about checks can't even fill out the forms to get indemnities paid to himself.
Mr. Chair,
Pretty.
I find the comments
Well,
completely out of line.
Both comments are getting out of line, and I'm not going to allow this meeting to degrade into a gotcha situation or name calling. So that question can be answered in camera if you would like. We will not discuss that question further in open forum. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to number 9, discussion, Thunder Hill. James, what did we have under Thunder Hill?
Thunder Hill made a presentation a month ago to council regarding a building project they're working on. They're putting a road in, a parking lot. At that time, they were asking council for a donation of some form to go towards that building project. And at the time, they suggested something like gravel would be timely. Since that time, gravel and hauling has been looked after. And so they were wondering if council would consider cash donation to that amount rather than the gravel. And for ourselves, to hire somebody to crush gravel and somebody to haul gravel, this might be a better solution.
So they've already accessed the gravel that they need, or are they going to be wanting more gravel later on in the summer, or what's the scoop there?
I believe they've got their gravel needs met so far, and the hauling of it, yes.
Okay, but how, when you say so far, is that good for the year, or are they going to be wanting some traffic gravel, or what's the...
I believe that's good for the year.
It's good for the year? Okay. So do we have any comments, suggestions, questions? You heard?
I think
You're
it's a good idea that if we could donate something to them,
So how far was that road in there? Was it about a mile or not?
No, I think it's only about a half mile, isn't it, James?
Yeah, half mile. They were looking for between 2,500 and 3,000 yards of gravel when they spoke to us. And I was suggesting that it would be closer to 3,000 yards by the time they got it packed onto the road.
What about the, one question. What about the parking lot? Have they secured gravel for that as well?
Yes, they have, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Gade has a question.
I'm curious, going forward, maintenance of that road. Are we looking at providing the maintenance? Could that be part of our contribution? Because it's a private road, we wouldn't normally maintain it.
Yeah.
And we've always plowed the Ski Hill Road
Right.
in an agreement like that
And we're
before.
going to still need to plow that one anyway. So this would be additional.
No.
No.
The original road will be no longer in use, right, James?
That's correct, yes.
There's other users of
And that will be a limited use, not for public. For accessing equipment and such, we will need to go up there, or the Thunder Hill will need to go up there, but it won't be as big a need as we had in the past.
So it won't be for patron use?
That's right, exactly, yep.
Okay, because the question was if we were to maintain the road, or going to be asked to maintain the road, then that would, I guess, be a given if the other road is closed, if we continued on doing what we had done previously, which was maintaining and occasionally putting some gravel on the road up the hill. Okay, the question remains. We've had one councillor suggest that he feels it would be a good idea. Any other comments, or anyone have an amount that they feel we should put to a vote?
I'd kind of like to see us go to budget with it and see what the budget is and see.
I was
what we can
actually
do.
thinking the exact same
You know, because
thing.
maybe we have some opportunity there that we don't know of yet until we get to budgeting. And then we're a lot better off in knowing, we have some COVID money, we have some other opportunities perhaps. Maybe there's something we can look at there holistically.
So, do I get a council might be in favor of tabling this until budget deliberations?
One other question before we table, I was kind of curious, does Mr. Webb have any involvement in this from the other side? Or is he solely acting for Swan Valley West?
No, he is on the board, I believe. Is that not true, James?
That's correct, yes.
I'm just curious, what does he do there?
Pardon?
What does he do there?
What does he do there? What is your role on the board, James?
President.
Okay. Any other questions?
Was that ever disclosed to council?
I have no idea.
Pardon me?
I'm just curious if it was ever disclosed to council, because there's a bit of an inherent conflict there to have. And we don't allow the president of any other group to make their own presentation to council, what they, recommendations. To me, it seems like there's a bit of a conflict there.
I don't think he made it.
Wouldn't be for personal gain,
No,
Councillor
I'm
Gade.
suggesting that it should at least
For
be
the good of the
disclosed.
community. We need volunteers more than ever now, and we should not be making, putting up roadblocks to them.
Not suggesting a roadblock at all, simply suggesting disclosure.
Okay, we will table that then till budget time or after budget.
Okay. Very well.
9.2, haul roads.
If I can interject for a moment, just to ensure that that issue, I think both of you fellows brought it up, gets discussed tonight, so
Perfect.
whichever one, they had.
Same road.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a radical suggestion I'll throw out there. You'll all be like just horrified by it. But my suggestion is that we drastically change what we consider a haul road. Every year that I've been on council, we have a slew of requests about this time of year as people fill out this form and find out they're not on a haul road. We have hard feelings after, we have all sorts of things that go on. I don't think that I have ever seen a ratepayer suggest that they're on a haul road that I personally wouldn't consider a haul road, whether or not it's on our list. No one's asking for that designation unless there is high traffic. So I would suggest rather than a set list, we try something new this year. We simply say that if there is more than 10 trucks a day, more than 14 days out of the summer, at the honor of the resident, they self-declare it's a haul road and we give them the discount.
You know you're gonna get 14 trucks on every road,
I don't think.
hauling from the combine.
I suspect that our ratepayers are very nice people, that when they know they need it, because there's a lot of issues, they will ask for it. I don't think we're going to see, I suggest as a trial for a year, but I don't think we'll see abuse of that. I think we would see the people like we heard from tonight, the people that Matt and I have heard from, say, this is a definite issue, this road has a lot of traffic because of these reasons. I think it would work quite well, rather than us sitting here for hours discussing the minute details of each mile of whether it's a haul road or not. I think we should try it. It would be a very good step to showing some goodwill to the ratepayers.
Yeah, well, I wasn't arguing against naming a haul road. I was arguing against the number of trucks. 14 trucks, or 10 trucks in 14 days is...
10 trucks a day.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's only 5 trips,
Right?
hauling grain from a combine, as an example.
But to me, if that's the general guideline, I don't want to see proof of the trucks. I don't think anyone in the office has time to want to see proof of the trucks. We simply want to say to the ratepayers, here's the general guideline. If there's a lot of trucks going by your place and you think that there should be a designation, check the box, and we'll do it this year, and let's see what happens.
It's not a terrible idea. I would be worried too that some people might take advantage of it, but at the same time, we always have the same issue every year. It's the same people who have the problem, and the rest, everybody else doesn't seem to have that problem, because they don't have the truck traffic. But 162 River Road, 216, I guess it's already designated, but those roads take a pile of traffic this time of year. And I don't know, I think maybe it could work.
We might see 1 or 2, but so be it. What's 1 or 2? Well, if we see hundreds, we need to reevaluate. I don't think we will.
We can use our own discretion on that too.
We just have to not put it onto the office staff of them determining it, because, the reason we went to that list of haul roads was so they had a yes or no, without having to call somebody to ask somebody. So we need to not burden them with an investigative process for each person that wants it. But we hear from the same people for the most part. Once in a while there's a change in traffic pattern because of a project. But this isn't something that, it's once a year we do this. So it's not like in July you're gonna be able to come back to us and say, oh, well, gee, I'm a haul road now. Really, it's this time of year, the deadline is fast approaching, May 14th. They have 3 weeks to put the request in. If they don't request it, they're not getting it this year anyway.
Any other comments?
So, what's the general consensus there? I'm having a hard time hearing Matt and Bill.
Yeah, we should have moved the phone, sorry. Councillor Gade suggested that we open it up to any individual who has 10 trucks 14 days out of the summer. The counter to that, I guess, would be 1 day at harvest time one truck could go haul 6 loads if it was a semi, at a minimum, if there was only one combine running. If there's 3 or 4 combines, you could have 20 trucks in a day for that particular road. We have had 2 requests this evening. We might be well served to try to ensure that those individuals are taken care of. And we still have a few weeks prior to the calcium coming. And word will spread, I am sure, that if they get wind of the idea that some people are getting a little bit of help on heavily traveled roads, truck traveled roads, that they would be putting in a request as well.
Yes, and my only comment to that is that the haul roads, I think, by definition, come from a gravel pit and then feed back to a main highway or a major trunk. So I'm not trying to downplay any of these other roads and the amount of traffic on them, but I think we got to remind ourselves of what these haul roads actually mean. So if we want to play around with definitions and maybe where a haul road, or for lack of better words, maybe a feeder route, okay, because these guys can't get onto 275 or Highway 83 or whatever, they have to take a feeder route to get there. Maybe that's what we need to look at and reevaluate, but I don't think that's just going to happen tonight. That's something that has to be looked at on a map, and council needs to agree together on something like that, because if we don't do that, then everybody's going to say that they're on a haul road, and then we got to start calcing every road for everybody.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Gravel hauling was the big issue, because that's pretty much all spring, summer, and fall for the most part, whereas with farmers it's spring and fall more than all of summer.
Just one further road that was requested was Road 162. I believe that connects to 212 that we talked about tonight.
That's the road that Bill and I are talking about.
162 is the one with the low crossing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
North side of the highway, always. Where my person lives.
North side of 275.
By my count, we have 18 requests pending tonight. We've got 14.
Yeah, 162 is the golf course crossing.
1 from Mr. Bertram, 3 from the 2 of us
Yeah.
on that road. What, like I proposed as...
We'll have to move that phone so we can hear.
I'm saying, by my count, we have 18 pending requests. We have 14 from the one delegation, 1 from the next delegation, and 3 that Mr. Councillor Wills and I have brought forward from a road. So I'd like to, provide some clarity, at least to those people. And perhaps we revisit this in 2 weeks at the next meeting, once people understand they can make the request. But I would move that we approve the request of the 18 individuals tonight to provide them the haul road subsidy for the 2021 year. And it's their choice. If they choose not to pay for their half, then there's no calcium. I'm not suggesting they do it for free, but we approve the 50% subsidy for those 18 requests. I'm sure Ms. Salama would provide us the names of her 14. She hasn't yet, but I know she has them.
And you
She
would
had
have the
12.
names of the 3?
Yeah, we would.
She had 12 others.
Oh,
She-
her,
I wrote
Mr.
it down.
Pond, and then 12 more. Okay.
I've
14 total.
14
And there were
total.
2 yards associated with Bertram's.
Okay, so we should be 19 then. Just to me, because then there's clarity to those people, they don't keep wondering, and we get something on the go. So I would
So
move that.
if-
then wants
So
to.
if council is okay with that, what I'd like to do is just general direction being given to administration from council. We'll prepare a resolution for the next meeting and include those names. But I'm not sure how you usually do it.
We're struggling a lot with general direction.
Pardon me?
We're struggling a lot with general direction lately.
That's not a fair comment.
Well, general direction to me is administration, when it's approved by council, and it's called general direction, then administration will prepare that resolution for the next meeting with those names.
Get the names in, and it'll be.
So that we
prepared.
don't, like, to do it tonight, oh God, we missed a couple of names. Then you gotta amend the bloody resolution at the next meeting. But if council instructs us verbally, that's general direction. I don't need it in writing, I just know that's gotta be done. It's gotta be done for the next meeting. Then we get all the names together, bring forward the resolution, and it's done.
So if we're going to do that, how do we feel if that list grows in the meantime?
How we,
Like if we have additional people call the office and say, oh, I want to be added to that list, like to me, the ones we're considering right now, I think are cut and dried.
They are.
But then,
Yeah.
like to me, I would love to pass a resolution tonight for those 19. And then at the next meeting, if there's more, consider them on a case-by-case basis and pass another resolution approving them. But I don't want to see creep where at the next meeting we come back and now there's 40 names on the list, 21 of which we haven't really discussed.
What we've done in the past is we have approved roads, not names.
I know, I'm suggesting a difference for this year because the road thing hasn't worked so well yet.
I just don't know in what regard.
Sections.
Well, because generally, like, if we approve it as a haul road, we actually amend the bylaw so it's in the list. And forevermore, it's in that list. So even if something changes, we would have to go back and change it, we would have to define the roads. To me, there's specific people with concerns. I'm more concerned about their concerns than the road they're on. So I don't care which road they happen to be on. The concerns we've heard tonight are valid concerns. I approve it by those people. These are the ones that should have that approved.
Well, sort of put the road on there too, Bill. Don't you think?
Well, do you want to change the bylaw so it's for every year? Because I'm suggesting.
no, but it
this
can
year.
be designated for the 1 year. It doesn't have to be added to the bylaw for in
Do we want to
perpetuity.
just list the roads out right now then? Because we know the roads.
We might as well list them out.
Okay, so what are they?
216.
216?
No, I'm sorry.
212.
12, right?
212.
Yeah. And is there all of 212 or do we want to limit it to?
It would be from Road 174 on the west end to Road 162 on the east end.
Okay.
It would only be in front of residences though.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
as this, right? You get 50% off of the 500 feet. You still have to pay your half. I'm not suggesting free or the whole road or anything like that.
Update for this year.
Road
Just rip that out.
162.
Sure.
We want this one? Sure.
I gotta figure out the miles on that one.
Well, there should be the number of residences rather than miles.
Yeah, no, I just want to figure out how far up they go away.
And what number is the Bertram?
165, I think he said.
212, 7.
Pastor. Mr. Bertram's 165,
165.
on the side of his house.
65, right up here.
What's the? Agreement road number.
That's the.
What number is that?
Oh, yeah.
That
So
has.
that has to be.
There's
Yeah.
two on there, last year
Three,
because
three.
of two?
There's one there on the other side there where, just before the truck. There's
are
there and
12.
two.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.
12
Yeah, that's right.
houses on.
What number is that?
162.
And you're saying all 12 of them?
Well, they're all on this, they're all on the same
Oh, well,
stretch.
oh, well,
It's,
come
yeah,
on.
I need that one more on there. It's with the, it's the Agrium Road, I say Agrium, it's not. It's our well road.
Yeah,
It
I know
needs
the
to
one.
be on there. There's 3 homes.
161 is what it looks like.
It was
Here.
bad last year. It was gonna be worse
210.
this year. And that's, and hydrous wagons, everything going.
Isn't that road 170?
It's 172.
Is it 172, Glen?
Yeah.
It's a mile.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right up here.
172.
And it's
One
right
72?
And there's children on it.
Right over the
That
tracks.
makes sense, right, because,
Right.
well, I'm reading that.
What was the other,
She puts up signs, but that's not the,
what was the other neighbor that Mr. Bertram mentioned?
Tyler.
Mr. Eisner.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys trying to figure out who the other neighbor was?
Yeah, I figured it out.
Where does he live in relation to Mr. Bertram? Tyler?
He's a couple hundred yards to the west.
To the west?
Yeah.
You're talking about Holland? Yeah. West, he's basically on the corner.
Okay, so that's Road 210 then.
Yep.
Okay, we will let Ken do that resolution. We'll move on to 9.3, Code of Conduct. Councillor Gade, you had some question or?
I just want a brief discussion with council. There's no resolution to come from this one, but in general terms, I wanted to talk about the code of conduct and something you may or may not be aware of. It has become apparent that the
Move this phone down here, just a sec. You want to speak up?
Yeah, so I was just saying, I wanted to discuss with council, make sure all of council is aware. In a general terms about the code of conduct, and everybody knows we have that new bylaw now. It's fairly common knowledge, there's some investigations ongoing with that, and there's been some complaints made. What surprised me is that in the investigation process, there's been a demand from the investigative team that people part of the process sign a letter of confidentiality or a contract agreeing to confidentiality. And that's not something that's actually contemplated in our bylaw. And so there's been some ongoing discussion with that about whether or not that's appropriate. It doesn't seem like there's any movement from the investigators on that. They're pretty sure that that's something they want to do. I would suggest that I'm pretty sure that's something that's not covered by our bylaw. So very quickly, I know there's been some deadlines issued, some of those passed this afternoon at 4 o'clock for different things to happen. They weren't deadlines issued by me either. They were issued by the investigative team. It's going to become an issue for council because our bylaw doesn't provide for it. And so at the point where our investigative process veers off into the Netherlands, where the bylaw doesn't speak to something, I think council should be aware that's a problem that's coming. And it's going to be a large problem. Certainly the investigative team has made suggestions that unless a confidentiality agreement is signed, that some people will be excluded from the investigation process. So we're likely to end up with results coming to council, investigating code of conduct concerns, where the people involved in the concerns themselves weren't actually part of the investigation. I'm not sure how comfortable as a council we're going to be with results coming back, finding guilty or not guilty, based on investigations that weren't actually conducted in a full and thorough manner. Certainly, I would express some mild concerns about that. both here at the table and in other venues. But I think it's fair warning that we know that things aren't going according to the bylaw. And certainly there's some problems developing in the process of how we deal with code of conduct concerns. That's pretty much all I had for that.
So the code of conduct bylaw that we accepted was templated by a panel of lawyers.
It was, and nothing in that bylaw says that for an investigation to take place, anyone would be required to sign a confidentiality agreement. So I'm not sure where anyone would draw the authority to demand such a thing if it's not provided for in the bylaw. Certainly, there is no basis for such a demand.
Well, I am not a lawyer, and we are not in the presence of a lawyer. I take it from your comments then that if you were asked, should you be asked to sign a confidentiality agreement, you would refuse to sign one.
There's no basis in law for me to sign it. There's no compelling reason I would.
I'm going to suggest that it would probably warrant a call to someone who is trained in that area, and we can get an answer back. I'm gonna say next meeting or whatever. That's good?
Sure.
Okay. Any other comments on that or not? We'll let it lie there for now. Okay, correspondence, 10.1. James, you made some reference to 10.1. What was the suggestion? James, are you still there?
Yes, I am, yep. So the correspondence that we refer to there includes telephone calls, visits to the office, and emails. We've got some ratepayers concerning recycling. We had recycling at the shop that was available to the ratepayers, and we had to remove that because of concerns with contaminating recycling, garbage being dumped off, and recycling not being handled correctly. And there's a request that we look at the possibility of doing something with recycling that is accessible to the general public without going to the Durban landfill, Benito landfill, Bozeman, or paying $5 at the scale at Swan. So as a council, I believe we have to take a look and see if there is an option. At this time, we haven't come up with any solution to that. So we have asked people to go the extra mile and go to the landfills.
Okay, just for everyone's information, I swung by the old collection site at the shop there today, and it is a mess. People have been throwing not only recyclable material, but garbage continues to be thrown on a pile on the ground.
Yep.
And the only way, in my humble opinion, that you would get around that would be to fence off an area and have it manned. And I don't believe that that would be a paying proposition by any stretch of the imagination.
I would say that there would just be more area for the garbage to collect outside the fence.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And it's hard to keep up with that. And that pile of leaves and garbage will be removed hopefully tomorrow.
Okay. Councillor Gade had his hand up.
So I'm curious, how did we get to having no bins at that location? Because council approved bins to be there. How were they removed and when were they removed?
Council did approve that. That was decided on, and we talked about it at many meetings that they would be removed, and there was no objection by council.
So where are the bins now?
They're moved. They will be at the Durban landfill.
So are they at the Durban landfill now?
They will be at the landfill.
When?
There's currently bins at the landfill that aren't being used, and so when we do need them, bins will be added at Durban and Bozeman as required.
So where are the two physical bins that were located there now? If they're not at Durban yet, where might they be?
They're in storage
Where is the storage?
at the shop.
Okay. Are we paying for those bins?
We pay for them when they're empty.
And are we emptying them?
No, they are empty, ready to be moved when they needed to be moved.
So I would suggest they're not actually empty.
They are empty, yes.
No, they are not.
No, I actually have to agree because I had somebody contact me on the weekend wondering where the bins went. They got to town, didn't have any place to put their recycling. As it turns out, they found them where they're in storage and put their recycling in them.
Okay.
So I have concerns. I was called by a very irate resident who lives in that area, who is extremely concerned about the amount of garbage blowing off our property towards their property. I was out there today and took pictures of yet more garbage blowing off of our property. If this was any other person in our municipality except for ourselves, we would be out there enforcing a bylaw right now about those piles of garbage, and the fact is blowing to the neighbors where they have to clean them up. I met that person at the site of the bins. I had to admit, it was news to me the bins had been removed. And as far as I know, I haven't missed a council meeting. Perhaps I did at some point, but recollection is I've been at all of them and it was never discussed to remove the bins. Certainly when they're removed like that, I would expect we would do something about their removal. I was able to find a post on our website from March 17th saying the bins had been removed and that you could drive to Bozeman or you could drive to Durban to place your recycling. But as the person I met at the site attested to, they had not thought the need to go to our website to find out where to recycle because they knew where the bins were and they were now missing. That person took it upon themselves to make a sign that said, "Do not dump here," and install it in an attempt to stop the flow of garbage into her property. While I was there assuring her that council would deal with this issue, another resident appeared who had recycling that they wished to deposit. I've been yelled at by a lot of people. It was one of the more entertaining, well-phrased concerns I had ever heard of somebody being very angry at us. And I don't blame them for having that concern. They asked some pointed questions about how would they know when they arrive at a place that looks like this, that used to contain recycling bins and now doesn't, where to go next. There's no sign installed, there's no notice of the bins being removed, there's no directions to another landfill. So they spent some time quite concerned with me about that. I did look for the bins. It took me a while to find them, but I did find them, looking not in storage at all, just out of the way where people could use them if they found them, which, as we can see, some people have been. I want to read into the record some of a concern we received. It says, "Hello. I'd just like to voice my concern over having no local recycling drop-off. I want to advocate for better access to recycling locations so we can increase participation in our community. It's a lot easier to burn our recyclables than to bring them in, so I believe convenience is key to helping our community work together to make better choices for the environment. Today I went to the RM site off 83 and the bins were gone, with sign posted, 'Do not dump here.' I then went to the town landfill and received advice the only place I may be able to send my recycling is Durban or Bozeman. They also had no directions of how to go to those sites. And I add, we did hear earlier you could take it to Swan River, but they won't actually take recycling from Swan Valley West because we have no bins there. Then I drove all the way to Bozeman, driving around until I gave up and got directions at their town office. The depot landfill was closed and open only 3 days a week. Spending fuel and time for over an hour to come home still with my recycling undeposited, I have very low expectations that many, if any, of the rural community would bother going to all this confusion and distance to recycle, and I don't blame them. I'd like to ask the RM to take this under serious consideration and find a solution that will better serve our community and our environment." I couldn't agree more. This is not an acceptable solution, to have a pile of garbage on the edge of our property that's blowing around. We had bins sitting there, and I don't disagree that we need to find a better solution. We had issues with the bins when they were there. They were getting too full. When the bins got full, people were piling stuff beside them.
The bins weren't even full and they were piling beside them, Bill.
In any case, this is unacceptable.
And it
what I
was
would like to
unacceptable the way it was being done before. The
So-
only solution, as I suggested earlier, is to have it manned. Now, if you think that it would be worthwhile to have an individual there and then take the risk of having deposits on the outside of a fenced area so that people could only access it when it was manned, you would get the same thing. People, unfortunately, cannot follow the rules or the guidelines to deposit the material in the bin or bring it back. If the bin happened to be full, that could happen very easily, especially at the beginning when the pickup wasn't as regular as it should have been, and no fault of the municipalities. The bins were full a few times. But going there many times myself, James went there many times, he can speak for himself. The bins were not full and material was on the ground, not only recyclable material, but garbage as well.
So, how long have we left that material sitting there?
What material are you referring to? The stuff
For
that's there
example,
now?
There's some stuff there that's not recyclable. Coffee maker, microwave, some things like that. How long has that material been allowed to sit there?
It was always removed when the bins were there, as soon as the boys had time. I set it aside a number of times, stuff that was not recyclable, and our lead hand picked it up, threw it in the back of his truck, and took it out to the waste site.
How sure are we?
I believe him. If you don't believe him, I guess that's your problem. But I believe him when he told me that he had picked it up.
Because I've spent some time researching that pile. Spent some time researching it a while ago, when I first heard that people were dumping beside the bins when they weren't full.
We need to move this meeting along.
Excuse me, but you're not speaking. I have the floor. Time to behave. So,
That last comment is not
neither was
required.
his. You either stop him from talking,
Well, either you
stop
respect, show
him?
some respect, then he will show respect. Or I will ensure that respect is shown.
ensure he shows some respect and all.
And the same for you, sir.
Good. So you correct him next time he talks out of turn. What appeared to happen with the bins, they would become full, some would end up on the ground. They would empty the bins, but when they empty the bins, they don't take the material on the ground because OSS doesn't do that. They only take what's in the bins. So the bins would go back. In some cases, the bins were actually sitting on the material that was left behind because the bin would land and catch the edge of the bags. They couldn't all be removed. We have the bins sitting there, sort of hidden. I don't think we can ask people to drive to Bozeman or to Durban to do the recycling. They're not allowed to do it at the Swan River landfill because they're not Swan River residents and only Swan River residents can do recycling there. To suggest driving to Bozeman 1 or 3 days a week or driving to Durban, how often is Durban open? Once?
Two.
Twice a week? Is somewhat ludicrous. The bins are here. We need a better solution, I don't disagree with that. I'd like to see us put the bins back there so we don't have this happening because we can clean this up today. It's going to come back again because people expect the bins to be there. When we find an actual solution, let's let people know what the actual solution is. If we're moving the bins, let's put up a sign with some notice. These bins will no longer be here as of the end of whenever. Please take your recycling to these locations so that people know what's going on. I would suggest if we put a third bin, much of the problem may go away because there'd be less capacity issues. The capacity issues might be gone now from the people that don't think it's there. But to me, it's just silly to have the bins sitting a couple 100 feet away hiding when we could have the bins sitting right there and not have stuff blowing around, making it look like we're just part of a dump.
For those that don't know, the town tried the honor system with their recycling bins south of their shop as well. It turned into a real mess the way it was here. They moved their bins as well.
But they didn't move them to Durban.
I realize they didn't move them to Durban, but they did move them so that they are only able to be used under supervised eyes.
Which is 6 days a week?
irrespective of what it is.
If,
At any rate.
if we're going to do recycling, we need to make it available. We can't expect people to drive half an hour with their recycling on a certain day of the week. Either we need to stop doing recycling because this isn't working, or we need to do a better job. I would love to see those bins put back there as an interim measure to stop what's happening now. When we have a better solution, let's implement a better solution, but let's do it with awareness, let's do it with a sign, so we don't have people, for all they know, those bins are just gone for maintenance or something, so they're leaving their recycling there for when the bins come back. They have no way of knowing.
Did we not talk about surveillance at one time?
We did. I don't know if it would work or not. I'm not gonna jump up and say, oh, that'd be a great idea. But I think what we need to as an action tonight is put those bins back there, get that stuff in the bins, and stop this from happening until we figure out a better solution. Because taking the bins away didn't stop.
No.
That pile has grown.
No, and I agree with you on
Every
that.
single day, there's more in that pile than there was the day before. So just taking that pile away is not gonna stop it. It's gonna come back the next day.
James, how many places did notice put?
We put it on the website and in the paper, and we're in a transition right now. We have to have those bins empty so when the trailer comes from Yorkton, they can move it. And I've told the neighbors that were stirred up by comments given to them that there will be a transition period, that we have to understand that people will drop them off, but we'll clean it up on a weekly basis. Now, that bin has been gone since a week ago Friday, so I promised that it would be cleaned up this week after the weekend, and it is after the weekend now. So we'll have to clean that spot up, going forward 2 or 3 weeks. But there's definitely less drop-off without the bins than there was with the bins sitting there. So it is a transition.
Okay. You made a note that when they put if the bin was full or if they just didn't want to lift the lid because the lids were heavy. That's the other issue with those bins. Someone who is not reasonably strong is not able to pick up that lid and pick up a bag of wine bottles or whatever. Some of those bags are very, very heavy, and chuck it in, So when I went to clean it up, I'd open the lid up, throw the lid right back, because I couldn't do both at once. It's impossible. The bins are not of the best design. The other issue is they were putting them back down in the same spot. So I advised them to move. If there was stuff beside those bins, move the bin over 20 feet. There's all kinds of room there. And they did that for a while. People would pile it beside there again then, So it just did not work the way it was. It has to be a supervised situation. And if you can think of a solution, I say go for it. Think of a solution and bring it to us.
So is there any chance of putting those bins back there as an interim measure?
What are your thoughts on that, everyone?
What was the suggestion?
To bring the bins back for an interim amount of time until some other solution is found.
Okay, well, if those bins have to be stored empty until OSS has to move them, what about placing a SVS bin there? I mean, he can transport that out to Benito and transfer it there.
We're still going to wind up with the same thing if his lid is hard to open or if the container happens to be filled. I also believe that there were a lot of town deliveries made there.
It's possible.
And just as a comment about the bins, as much as possible, I'd meet the OSF guy out there to fill those bins and then make sure that it was cleaned up the Friday that he was there. I can't say that it happened every Friday because you're not available on the moment, but as much as possible we would. But I think putting anything there would just encourage it to start up again, and we do need to, end that collection there, because even with the bins, it's not good for the neighborhood, and I think it's better if they're not there. So I believe that we're reducing, over the weeks, we're reducing the amount that's getting dropped there, and we just got to come up with a solution. I believe the solution that we have, whether it's the townspeople paying $5 to go across the scale, or us spending another 10, 15 minutes to drive out, it's equal to the same thing. People that want to recycle will recycle. If it's not worth it to the individual, then it won't get recycled.
Is there a fee to recycle in Swan River?
A which?
A fee to recycle?
You have to go across the scale apparently.
But you don't pay. If all you have is recycling, you don't pay a scale fee to go dump it in recycling. You only pay if you have garbage.
I don't know, I've heard that you pay.
The scale fee is not $5 anymore, it's 10. But
Will they let Swan Valley West recycle?
absolutely not,
Yeah.
because they pay for the bins. But could we not?
Would they let us
our
have
two
put a bin
bins?
there?
Why don't we put our 2 bins there?
That's just as close.
That's supervised and not on our dime.
And the landfill is an agreement we share
Yeah.
with the town of Swan Valley.
Not a bad idea.
I guess that's something that
I
could
think
be
that would be
investigated.
a
I
good
do not
idea.
want to go on and on something like this that cannot be solved tonight. Can we ask administration to contact town administration and see if they would be willing to, or if they would have a place for a bin or two of the municipalities, recycle bin?
They go there anyway.
Supervised,
Yeah.
then they would take our recycling there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we use our own bins, yeah.
We know it has to be supervised, we know this.
Well, yeah,
By
because
looking at that.
whether they're there or not, we have a problem either way now, right?
I'd really like to see us put up at least a temporary sign there that explains.
Yeah, we should put something up, you're right.
Sorry, no recycling here, here's where we are taking
Yeah.
recycling, here's the
And-
days of the week, so it's not go to
Yeah.
Bozeman and you get there and find out it's closed. Bozeman these days, these times, Durban these days, these times, Benito these days, these times. So we have a video landfill, don't we? I'm sure we have bins there too.
At Benito?
Yeah.
Yes,
So list all 3 options.
and those are always supervised.
And then if we find the town option, we'll add it to the list as, here's another place you can go.
The sign was down today, the homemade sign, I put it back up, so. Okay, let's move on to 10.2, Manitoba Pipeline Landowners Association. I think there's more for information than anything.
I believe so, Mr. Reeve. I contacted AMM today, and they haven't broached the subject at all because they haven't had any inquiries from, for or against from other municipalities. So they haven't taken any position on it at all.
10.3, Clean Farms, just basically outlining the container return program for pesticides. We all have a copy of that as well.
So, for pesticide containers, can we take those at Benito or could we only take
No,
them at Durban?
they're collected as.
So, yeah.
So we can't take them
So
at
we
Durban
can't take them
can we?
anymore.
No, okay. And do people know that when we get, because last spring season, we could still take them, right?
Is he not still in Durban?
Yeah,
2
I
days a
believe,
week?
I believe he honestly,
Then
he's still,
we can still take jugs for now?
because that gets removed, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
get covered up.
You're right.
That
Yeah.
gets hauled away. So I believe, yes, we can until the day that we say, or
The
it's
site is closed.
Until we shut
closed,
it down.
right? I believe he can because
Yeah.
it
Their
gets
Swan
picked
River
up,
will
not
be the
just,
only one.
Not just buried.
yeah. I believe, but could be wrong.
No, that would make sense to Carrie.
But
We have
like-
to have a
like
proper
Bill says, I'm very sure you
containment
can.
site and everything for those containers, so. Okay, 10.4, short conference, May 12th. That is also good information. Move on to number 12, committee reports, communications. Where is that resolution?
We to accept it.
Yeah, accepting the committee reports, when we read them in as,
I saw the damn thing earlier.
But you didn't capitalize your name, see, fair. I don't like that. You gotta remember,
I didn't think I was that important.
it's important.
Yeah. Just gonna stay way down here.
Not you, it's important. Yeah, it's silly because it asks you to put your name in. And if
And
you
by the way-
don't do it yourself. you-
By the way, Eugene,
Okay, we will start as
Here
you
are all the
find
wrong
that,
information.
and I will jot it down.
Because he doesn't have time.
Okay, Councillor Pierrepont is not here tonight, so we'll go with Councillor Blosha.
I had an LUD meeting on the 20th.
Okay?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Councillor Kushniryk?
Okay, I had a RISE meeting where we finalized our budget for this year, and I think from that meeting, our EDO is going to take a little bit more control of what direction she wants to focus on for this upcoming year. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, it was a good meeting.
Okay, just the one meeting?
Just the one meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Foster?
No, I didn't have it.
Councillor Wills?
Just a transportation meeting for me on the 8th of April.
I guess I had that.
Pardon?
I was at that transportation. Forgot about that. I thought that was before the first other meeting.
It was.
Yeah.
We probably talked about it already. Never mind, strike that from the record.
It was, but
That was the extent of how busy the month was.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had no meetings then, or no?
No.
Okay, Councillor Gade?
I attended the spring AMM via video conference. It was a good time. As always, AMMs have a lot of great speakers. They seem to connect well. They do a good job selecting who to have speak at those sessions, so they aren't too boring or such. And this year, as annoying as it could be to do the teleconference thing, you certainly, I think, get almost as much out of the speakers, even without spending days driving there, staying in a hotel room. It brings our costs way down. So it's certainly good. Anyone that was registered for, I know several council members were, and some weren't able to attend until the 30th of April. You can still view the sessions online, so you can watch through them if you missed one. In theory, you're only allowed to do that if you're registered, but I'm sure one of the other members of council that was registered could share with you if need be, so you could still get the information from it, even though you may not have been there on the day of. Because some of it's really good information, so the more you can learn, right? Outside of that, I had a substantial number of concerns from residents, some of which we've dealt with tonight and some of which didn't really fit into the meeting. But as always, I thank people for bringing those forward because we simply don't know what the most important issues are until we're told sometimes.
Okay, thank you. I also attended all of the AMM sessions. We had a shared services meeting with the town, cemetery committee meeting, viewed 2 possible watershed projects. We prioritized a number of projects. We'll be looking at one more on Thursday, and also attended the RISE budget meeting. James, do you have any meetings that you attended?
Yes, I attended the LUD meeting.
Okay, thank you. On the resolution? Excellent. I'll let you fill this out later. Resolved that we do hereby accept the following verbal reports regarding council committees and communications. Councillor Gade, Spring AMM, residents' concerns, no meetings for Councillor Wills or Councillor Foster. Councillor Kushniryk at a RISE budget meeting. Councillor Blosha LUD meeting. I had AMM sessions, shared services, cemetery committee meeting, RISE meeting, RISE budget meeting, and viewing of some watershed projects. James Webb attended the LUD meeting. Do we have a mover for that resolution?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Foster. Seconder?
Kushniryk.
pipe down.
questions?
We're just-
If not, all in favor?
Yes.
That is carried.
Just a reminder that this is the last week of April, and if we get our indemnities in, that would be great.
Okay.
Do you want to entertain that resolution?
And there's,
On camera?
if it'll get approved at the
Yeah,
next
can
council
do it.
meeting.
These are the committee
Oh, yes, it
reports
is.
here, so you can just jot what I have there. If you have the desire to do that, if not, I will do it.
So far, so good.
Okay, this is the next resolution with regard to dust control. Be it resolved that the following roads be accepted for the 2021 dust abatement subsidy. Road number 212 from 174 to 162. Road 162 affecting 12 residents. Road 165 and 172 affecting 3 residents. Do we have a mover for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Gade. Seconded by Councillor Blosha.
So we got 175, that's the one I'm talking about.
172, isn't it? Isn't that 172?
172?
You got it?
172 is that?
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you.
172 coming up to,
I'll make sure.
Okay, any further discussion?
that's between.
Not?
Yeah, okay, Road 172, are we leaving out Road 169, the cemetery road?
No.
No, 172 is by Benito, sorry.
Out by Benito, Tyler.
It's between
By
200,
by our municipal well and that site.
it's between Road 200 and Road 201.
Yeah,
Pardon me.
Thanks, Glenn. We do need intersections there
Yeah,
from where to where, because those are pretty long roads.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
172
yeah.
is also up
No.
past
Not
my
specific enough, so like 162 it'd be between 212 and 218 that I think is the heaviest traffic there, for instance, on 162, all the way up to 218. So those type of definitions clarified for the administration.
Okay, I'm going to just add to this resolution then as per attached. And we can make those definitions for you.
Yes,
Yeah, I
that'll be great.
just want it to be clear from council which part of that road they consider as wanted to consider as haul roads for 2021.
Yes.
Yeah, that 172 is between 200 and 201.
As per attached. Is that fair enough? Okay, any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. Okay, we have come to the time on our agenda where we open the floor to those in the gallery if they have a question or a comment regarding a topic that was covered at tonight's meeting. Anyone have a question or a comment?
To Reeve, Galloway and Council, I thank you very much. It's Meredith Salama speaking. And one thing you might try with your telephone is piggybacking 2 phones open with a line, one on each end of the table, because some of the councillors are really hard to hear.
Yeah, if we have a computer hooked up through the computer, then we can use the mic and pass it around, but we didn't do that tonight, unfortunately.
And, with your recycling, cheer up, folks. I've had a recycle bin in town and somebody decided to drop off one of their doggy pickup bags in it. And guess who would have got blamed? So, you're doing the best you can. And I know that your office door was marked as to the change of the bins from where they had been to Durban and Bozeman. And I saw that 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Anyone else have a question or comment? not, I would like to thank you on behalf of council for attending. Hopefully, before much too longer, this COVID business will quieten down as vaccine gets put into people's arms, and we will be able to get back to normal. So thanks again for attending, and to council, we will take a 10-minute recess prior to going in camera. Next resolution, resolved that pursuant to section 152 sub 3 of the Municipal Act, the council as a whole shall go into camera and close the meeting to continue discussions regarding equipment quotes, employee matters, Livingston Fire Agreement, fire truck, tax sale payment agreement, capital purchases, and council communication. Mover for that resolution, please. Moved by Councillor Foster. Seconder. Councillor Wills. Councillor Wills beat you to it. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is carried. Resolved that pursuant to section 152 sub 4 of the Municipal Act, this meeting shall be reopened to the public. Do we have a mover for the resolution?
I'll move it.
I second it.
All in favor?
Yes.
That is carried. Resolved that in accordance with clause 8.5 of bylaw number 0002-15, the council shall extend the curfew by up to 1/2 hour in order to complete discussions regarding remaining issues.
Purchasing. So it's just a grader.
Are you James? It is, yeah. Okay.
Thanks for doing the shopkeeping there for me. I was busy altering the resolution here.
I guess we should move it again.
Yeah, you move that.
Okay, purchasing the grader. We have a mover for the resolution. Councillor Gade,
You did.
seconded by
I'll second.
Councillor Wills. All in favor?
Yes.
That is carried.
That's for the tax sale agreement.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Next resolution, whereas subsection 3691 of the Municipal Act provides as follows. 3691, a municipality may cancel or adjourn an auction of a particular property at any time before it begins if property owners enter into an agreement with the municipality for payment of the arrears and costs. Whereas the property owner requested to enter into an agreement with the municipality for payment of the 2019-2020 taxes and costs, resolved that Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby agree to this payment arrangement and removal of the 2021 tax sale list for said property, and be it further resolved that the Reeve shall be authorized to sign such an agreement on behalf of the municipality. A mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Blosha, seconded by Councillor Wills. All in favor?
Yes.
That is carried.
Got quite the pile going there.
Next resolution, whereas the current John Deere 870 grader is in need of replacement, and whereas the municipality has published a notice of participation with Sourcewell on Merck's, meeting the Canadian Free Trade Agreement on tendering, and the municipality has received quotes for the purchase of a replacement grader. Therefore be it resolved that the Council for the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the purchase of the 2020 John Deere 870 GP as equipped, less the wing, from Brandt Tractor Limited for $315,360 plus taxes. Do we have a mover to that resolution?
I'll move.
Kushniryk.
Moved by Wills. Do you want to second it?
Yes, please.
Any discussion?
I would just like to say one more time that this is going to be a very nice machine. They're easy to work on. They have a pile of power. They're reliable. The employees like them. I think we're making the right choice. Service is in Swan. I think we're making the right choice to buy this John Deere.
Okay. I do think we're making the right decision for the John Deere. Because of the service, I like the local service. It keeps someone employed here locally. It provides better service time. I also feel extremely strongly that the recommendation from our staff was a John Deere unit for this purchase. And I believe they have to use it every day. We must put weight into what they think is best as well, because obviously they're out there running the machine and they're going to use it to the best of their ability to make our roads even better than they are now. So I'm fully in support of buying it.
Okay, any further comments? If not, call the question. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed?
I don't know about this.
Abstain?
Abstained.
For what reason?
I think the warranty there is, I like the, not being called out, you know, like that $200 value.
Okay, I declare the resolution carried.
Just say it at one time, Glen, you'll change your mind.
Yeah.
Anything further?
I don't think so.
I'll be sending out the December preliminary numbers. That they're ready to go, pretty well ready to go for audit, but I just wanted you to have those numbers because we need to call a budget meeting in the next weeks. We could probably start the process at the next council meeting, but if you can start thinking about them based on these numbers that I sent out.
Okay.
Was there a notice of motion?
Yes. Oh, there was a notice.
That's,
Yes. Thank you for that. This is a notice of motion to review and/or reverse a decision of council. I, Councillor Darryl Pierrepont, do hereby give written notice that I will, at the next regular meeting of council, introduce a motion to reconsider Resolution 5, dated February 23rd, 2021, regarding the hiring of Sampson Developments, Inc. to do repairs to the Whitmire and Crestview bridges, dated the 23rd day of February 2021, and signed by Mr. Pierrepont. Last resolution, resolved that this meeting shall now adjourn at 11:17 p.m. Be it further resolved, next meeting is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 at 7 p.m. A mover, please.
Kushniryk.
And
Seconded by Councillor Foster.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yes.
It's good one, Tyler.
Good night, all.
I gotta go to bed.